The chill of an empty apartment can be just as unsettling as the deepest void. 2 years ago, I felt it acutely. Fresh out of a cramped dorm, my new place was a blank canvas, aching for life, for something, to fill its echoing spaces. My budget was tight. A meager student's savings stretched thin, especially after splurging on a decent mattress. A bed frame, however, felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. That's when I turned to the digital abyss of Craigslist. The internet was a sea of discarded junk, frames twisted, stained, or simply rotting. Then a beacon, a simple wooden frame, clean, unassuming, for a mere $35. It was perfect. I fired off an email, hope mingling with a familiar unease. A minute later, a reply. Still available. See you at 6 p.m. The quickness, the casual confidence struck me as slightly off, but the deal was too good to pass up. I spent the afternoon rearranging my sparse bedroom, a dance with phantom furniture, trying to visualize a bed where only carpet lay. The hours crawled, each tick of the clock amplifying a subtle hum of anxiety. At 5:30, the address came through. 20 minutes away, in a part of town I didn't know. My adopted city, still a stranger. As I drove, the familiar urban sprawl began to thin, houses giving way to overgrown lots and sparse, isolated structures. The sunset bled across the horizon, painting the sky in sickly shades of orange and bruised purple, a stark contrast to the encroaching darkness. A cold dread began to coil in my stomach. This wasn't what I expected. When I finally pulled into the neighborhood, a faint glimmer of relief. The houses weren't sprawling mansions, but they were close enough, familiar enough to ease my mind. Still, they were tired, worn things, their paint peeling like old skin. I found the address. Lights glowed inside, a single porch bulb casting a jaundiced pool of light on the stoop. The front door stood ajar, a gaping maw in the encroaching gloom. I killed the engine, the sudden silence heavy, almost suffocating. My heart began to thud, a frantic drum against my ribs. I stepped out, the air suddenly colder, sharper, a faint scent of damp earth and something cloyingly sweet hung in the air. I walked up the cracked pathway, my footsteps echoing, and knocked. The door swung open further, revealing a tall, broad man, his face obscured by the brim of a baseball cap. He wore a heavy coat, despite the mild evening. He waved me in, his voice a low rumble, instantly familiar, as if we were old friends. It was unnerving. He was perfectly normal, yet something about his eyes, shadowed beneath the cap, held a glint of something predatory. I followed him inside, the house a maze of shadows. The air grew heavier, thick with an unspoken presence. We climbed a narrow, creaking staircase, the wood groaning beneath our weight, then down a short, dim hallway. He pushed open a door and stepped aside. I walked in, and my breath hitched. The room was far from empty. It was a bedroom, lived in. A dresser crammed with clothes, a nightstand piled with forgotten trinkets, and there, in the center, was the bed frame. But it wasn't just a frame. It had a mattress, rumpled sheets, and a heavy comforter. It looked like someone had just gotten up. I blinked, my mind reeling. Did I misunderstand? I forced a tight smile. Just the frame, right? No mattress, nothing else? The man's smile widened, too wide, too eager. Of course, he rumbled. Just the frame. I stared at the frame, trying to reconcile the image in my mind with the reality before me. It was the frame from the ad. I was sure of it, but the context was all wrong. My intuition screamed at me, get out now. But the sheer absurdity of it, the logical part of my brain, warred with the rising panic. It was a good deal. Just get the frame and leave. He'll take it, I said, my voice thin, almost a whisper. The man chuckled, a sound like gravel grinding together. Excellent. Let me help you get it to your truck. But first, a drink? He turned, disappearing into the hall, then reappeared with startling speed, 2 glasses of beer clutched in his large hands. He must have had them waiting nearby. He offered me one. "No, thank you," I said, my voice firm despite the tremor in my hand. "I really can't." He frowned, his smile faltering. "But it's fun. We could hang out." His insistence was unsettling, a thin veneer of casualness cracking. "I have to go," I said, my heart now a frantic hummingbird in my chest. "Really, I just need the frame." His smile tightened, becoming a grotesque grimace. He stepped closer, blocking the doorway, his eyes glinting in the dim light. "Come on, just one." The room felt impossibly small, the walls closing in. The smell of dampness and that cloying sweetness seemed stronger now, like rotten fruit. This was wrong. All wrong. I had to move. I ducked past him into the narrow hallway, creating precious space between us. My escape route. "I'm leaving," I declared, my voice gaining strength. I turned, already walking fast, my feet almost tripping over each other towards the stairs. Behind me, I heard a sound. A soft thud. He was following. Panic surged, a cold wave washing over me. I raced down the stairs, each step a desperate plea for freedom. The front door, still open, beckoned like a portal. I burst through it, the jaundiced light of the porch bulb momentarily blinding me. I scrambled into my car, fumbling with the keys, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The engine roared to life, a blessed sound. I peeled out of the driveway, gravel spitting from beneath my tires. In my rearview mirror, he stood there, a dark, silent silhouette in the open doorway, watching. He didn't move, didn't follow, just watched. The drive home was a blur of distorted streetlights and the gnawing sensation of being watched. My hands were clammy, my whole body trembling. Maybe he was just lonely, a harmless recluse looking for company. But the room, the bed, the sudden aggressive shift in his demeanor, it all pointed to something far more sinister. Back in the dubious safety of my apartment, I collapsed onto my new mattress, still without a frame, my mind racing. I grabbed my phone, fingers shaking, and pulled up Craigslist. The ad was gone. Vanished, as if it had never existed. I remembered the picture. Just the frame, stark and empty. The memory of that lived-in room, the rumpled sheets, the subtle scent of something unsettling, now fused into a chilling realization. He hadn't been selling a bed frame. He had been selling an experience. An invitation. The silence of my empty apartment no longer felt like a blank canvas, but a vast, whispering abyss, and I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that he'd come closer to falling into it than he'd ever imagined. The thin line between loneliness and desperation can sometimes blur into something truly terrifying. It's a stark reminder that the scariest monsters often wear the masks of mundane normalcy, lurking in the shadows of the everyday. They prey on our vulnerabilities, our simple needs, drawing us into their twisted realities before we even realize the trap has sprung. Have you ever had an encounter that left you questioning your sanity? A situation where the ordinary twisted into the truly unsettling? Share your stories, your close calls, or even just your thoughts on Liam's ordeal in the comments below. I truly want to hear them. And if you found yourself captivated by this descent into the uncanny, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more chilling tales.